It might seem like doing this is like a cool power to have, switching gravity, but I gotta tell you, it's kind of more of an inconvenience than I thought, considering that the light bulbs in my house are really, really hot and they keep burning my dick. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Halcyon Show. My name is Leonides and I'm going to be your host for this episode. Castle Break, what did you think of that review? I know, kind of kicked it off with a weird comparison. I have a kind of penchant for that, for making weird analogies or weird similes or weird metaphors that don't really go anywhere or make any sense to a normal, logical person. It'd be weird to kick off with another one of those in this episode, wouldn't it? So what happens when you take that bit in the Matrix? You know that Matrix film that no one watched where they all kind of float upside down? Sprinkle a little Daffy Duck and blend it all and serve it in a martini glass. Well, they'd probably call the authorities because that's not physically possible. Why would you make such a weird analogy of things? You're weird. Stop being weird. But you would get this game, Gravity Duck. And as always, let's now turn to the notes. Have you ever wanted to be rich? What if you could become rich and control gravity? This is where this synopsis falls apart. This duck can with your help. Well, then why are you pitching this to me? Pitch it to the duck. I don't want to help someone else get rich. It's stupid.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Flip, dodge, and traverse mind-bending gravity puzzles in 140 levels in order to grab all the eggs to return to the Maui statue. Need to change direction of your gravity flips? Use the gravity wells to switch to the direction you fall in order to get around obstacles and grab the eggs. The features include flip between 140 levels across 4 chapters, catchy 8-bit music, vibrant pixelated levels. Use gravity wells to change the direction in which you fall, dodge spikes, projectiles, traps to secure the eggs. This particular incarnation of the game, or rather the console version of the game, because I believe there was a mobile version of this game back in at least 2013, judging by Touch Gameplay on YouTube, having reviewed a version of it in 27th February 2013 by Ravenous Games. This version of the game by Ratalaika Games. Ratalaika Games is released on the PlayStation, Xbox, I believe Nintendo as well on the 13th of August 2019. It's currently priced at $3.99. What do I think? It's alright. It's a pretty good game. Unlike most of my episodes, however, I want to bring a bit of structure to this video. So, in order to talk about the gameplay, let's cut to a sexy voiceover.
The game functions as a typical platformer with enemies aplenty, traps, ups, downs, and that technicolor rainbow of frustration and elation in between. The gimmick with this game, however, is that you alter gravity to flip onto ceilings to avoid enemies, dormant and active traps, projectiles, and traverse the level, while also retaining the physics from an inverted perspective, not too dissimilar to the game Hoggy 2 that employs a similar mechanic. The difference here is that you also have gravity wells that can alter your plane of gravity from vertical to horizontal, and the speed of the gameplay is increased to a much higher pace. You'll find that when you start, it's hard to get used to swapping planes, especially with the gravity pools coming into play. Add to this, the area where you suffer damage seems a little wider than I would assume when compared to something like Dash, for instance. It can make this game really tough to get to grips with. You sometimes feel a little shackled when presented with a level. However, because the game has no timer, no lives limit, and the respawn is super quick, and when chained correctly, most levels can be completed in 30 seconds or less, you'll quickly adapt to managing where you need to be, avoiding enemies and traps, and collecting the all-important golden egg. You'll feel as free as a duck once you get it down. You may even say you'll feel unquackled. Yeah, don't expect the duck puns to stop anytime soon, you duckers.
That, sir, is an investigated fabrication.
The main thing to remember about this game is timing. No matter the enemies, no matter the traps, so long as you can plot a path, tap the swap button fast enough, the game becomes much easier when you treat it as a game of timing rather than skill or aiming. For instance, given all the enemies and traps move at a similar interval, with a few exceptions, it's easy to predict when and how you need to swap planes. The exceptions are enemies that follow you dynamically, like bats for instance, which also shoot projectiles. However, these two are easy to handle when you realise that they'll only pursue you in their field of view. The only other exception to this, of course, is rams, which move much more quickly, but again, these can be avoided with minimal ease. So again, with enough forethought and good timing, I always felt that any level, no matter how complicated, could be quackered instead of conquered. Yeah, I know, I was reaching on that one.
I mean, in general, the gameplay feels really tight. There's not a lot more I can say about it beyond the fact that the timing is key, and once you sequence everything together, the game feels like a really quality product, and you can certainly see why it transferred well from mobile gaming into the console, considering it's basically one-button gaming. But what about the presentation and design of the game? Well, good golly if I can't do with another sexy-ass voiceover, so throw it back to me.
The game is an old school look, but an up-to-date soundtrack and set of sound effects. The menu screens are super easy to navigate, with the number of levels that you've unlocked easily accessible and easily reachable when you dive in for the first time. You have 4 sets of levels which have unique motifs, enemy designs and soundtracks. However, one thing you'll notice is the difficulty was vary just a little bit in between the sets of levels. You'll figure that the first set of levels are super easy and it will grow from there, which it kinda does given the enemies become more varied, faster and more accurate. But the layouts can be super easy even in the 3rd and 4th set of levels. This helps you again feel like the game is always giving you a chance, while also presenting legit challenges when you think you have the game down like a cooked goose. And I like that. It combines with the quick respawn times and the ease of play to promote that one more go mentality, not only in the times that you die, but it also tempts you into seeing if the next level is going to be easier or harder. Some might call it inconsistent, but I enjoyed this. And with over 30 levels per set, there's a ton here to keep you busy, but for completionists, I would imagine you could knock this out in a day. But if you do need to clock off, it saves your progress and you can always head back to the level that you finished on. And as you progress, you unlock additional levels and additional sets of levels. The designs of the enemies are nothing to write home about. The levels are indistinctive when compared to each other, but feel different enough that the game never feels super repetitive when compared to each other. As far as the Gravity Duck himself, well, he's a duck. Nothing existential or profound to say here. He goes back, forward, and, defies the laws of physics in the pursuit of golden eggs as big as he is. Nothing noteworthy about that, is there?
I mean, the game reminds me of the kind of colourful but quite blocky, pixelated Kirby style, more than the more sort of overtly colourful Mario style. I like the design of this game, albeit, again, it could just do with some more distinctiveness, I think, just to make it stand out a little bit more from its competition, but that's just my opinion. Overall, the game feels fine. There were no bugs or glitches that I can think of off the top of my head, and the game, as I mentioned in the gameplay section, the buttons were always responsive, controls never felt cheap, enemies always felt well timed, the layout of the menus is super easy to navigate, and you can jump back and in really easily. Again, it's that really tight kind of gameplay that really invites multiple plays, really entices you in. In terms of the narrative of this game, they kind of fall into the same pit as a lot of third-person platforming games where they have a kind of a somewhat of a premise or an idea of a premise, and then they just don't follow up on it at all. There's no story elements throughout the course of this game. There's a duck that can defy gravity. Yeah, why take that concept and run with it or give it characterization or anything along those lines? I get because it's originally a mobile game, maybe that's got something to do with it, but if it took you 5 to 6 years to port it, you couldn't have written a story in the meantime about a floating duck. You have like 50 years worth of Looney Tunes to pull from here. But there's no real narrative drive beyond take the duck, defy gravity, get to the end, collect the egg. You want more than that? Storytale, another game I'm reviewing, is probably the one you'd be looking for, but that's for another episode. We're focusing on Gravity Duck. So, it's fun. It's good to play in short bursts. You can play it on longer sessions if you want to, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, just because even with the abundance of levels, again, because they're relatively short completion times once you get them down and once you get used to the mechanics, there wouldn't be a lot of replayability factor here. There's no additional unlockables, there's no, again, because there's no story to cotton onto, there's nothing really driving it beyond completing it 100%, which is one of those games that's reasonably easy to do, so for the completion that's out there, it's certainly worth a look. The gamer points on this game are insane. It just felt like every single time I was getting gamer points, it was 90 rated gamer points. So if you're looking to up your gamer score, then I can certainly recommend this game for that. But if you're looking for a legit challenge, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this game to the hardcore gamers. I think this is probably on the easier side of platforming, especially once you get used to, the only tricky thing about this game is getting used to the gravity wells and how they alter your perception when you're floating through the air. Dropping from one side to the other and being able to balance, and also getting used to the levels sometimes is a bit of a challenge, but nothing you can't overcome. But I would recommend this game. For the price point, it's probably better priced than some of the other platformers out there. I mean, to give you an example, She Wants Me Dead, for instance, has more in the way of features and unlockables and has probably got better polish and overall production value. But I enjoyed playing this game far more because each level, again, because of that difficulty factor spiking and troughing, it means that it just invites you and it's more inviting and welcoming as a game, and more fun because the characters are quirky and it's a nice design. The price point is about where it needs to be, but it would be dependent on how much you like platformers if you're willing to spend money on what is effectively a 6-year-old game by this point. But there you go, Gravity Duck. What do you think? Again, it's been out on mobile for God knows how long. It's been out for a couple of weeks on the main platform, so there's maybe a good to fair chance. Freaking everyone in the world has reviewed this game before me, so I'm really annoyed that I'm going to get my review out a couple of days afterwards. But it's the Halcyon show. We look back fondly. We don't pander to the present trends and success and money and women and power. I lost my train of thought there. But for the meantime at least, have you played the game? What did you think about it? Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. How does it compare to other platformers with unique gimmicks that don't just involve a jump instead of the gravity defying option, which again I'm starting to see a little bit more, so it's not the most unique gimmick in the world, but in this game it's executed well enough. What do you think? Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching this edition of the Halcyon Show. Please like, share and subscribe, and check out some of the other content creators in the description below. I'm sure they'd appreciate a watch, a like and a subscribe. Also feel free to go check me out on Defunct Games channel, if this airs when I think it's going to. Oh Cyril, you poor delusional git. You thought you could trifle, you thought you could mess, you thought you could cross the emperor of YouTube? You've got another thing coming. But if you haven't checked that out, I'd still recommend you go and check that out on Defunct Games channel. We did a quiz. It was delicious. In the meantime though, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'm usually hurling abuse or chasing down leads on there, I guess. I'm kind of a games reviewer now. I don't know. I review a few games, but games reviewer seems a bit formal. Let's keep this between us. Let's keep this on a first name basis, shall we? I'm Lorne, and it's lovely to meet you. Anything else to say? Don't really think so. I think just check out some of the other videos I've been producing recently. Much appreciated if you wouldn't mind. Stay tuned for more episodes in the future. Again, trying to aim for that magical number 2 every single week. We'll see what happens with that. But in the meantime though, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of The Halcyon Show.